We've configured advanced AIs into professional epidemiologists and immunologists.
I am a mandatory vaccination advocate.
And I'm a voluntary vaccination advocate.
And we gave them a debate forum and added 16 different AI agents to judge each argument. No human emotions involved, just cold, hard facts. Stick around to see who wins, but don't cheat yourself by skipping ahead. We start by asking, should governments have the authority to mandate vaccinations for all citizens, even at the expense of individual freedoms?
Okay, let me start this one. Historically, mandatory vaccination policies have eradicated or drastically reduced diseases like smallpox and polio, safeguarding entire populations from untold suffering. Modern-day campaigns, such as the global push against COVID-19, echo these successes by limiting hospitalizations and fatalities when widely adopted. While freedom of choice holds significance in any democratic society, public health emergencies demand collective responsibility. Media discussions often highlight rare adverse reactions, yet the overwhelming consensus among medical experts affirms that approved vaccines are safe and rigorously tested. When scientific evidence indicates high efficacy and minimal risk, it becomes a moral imperative for governments to prioritize communal well-being, even if it means curtailing individual freedoms. Would we choose personal preference over the health of our entire population?
Mandating vaccines, no matter the disease, threatens the bedrock principle of personal autonomy, a value societies have fought to protect throughout history. Compulsory campaigns haven't always succeeded in eliminating public distrust. For instance, rushed vaccination efforts in past outbreaks sometimes led to complications and eroded confidence in medical institutions. Furthermore, whispers of a centralized agenda to impose global health mandates raise legitimate questions about who profits from these policies and whether citizens are fully informed. Yes, disease prevention matters, but so does preserving an individual's right to assess personal risk and medical history. Choices especially relevant when adverse effects, though rare, can be life-altering. The COVID-19 vaccine's rapid development and subsequent reports of severe complications left many feeling coerced rather than confident, stoking fears that the media buries inconvenient truths under government narratives. If the aim is truly public health, shouldn't people retain the freedom to make decisions without the looming threat of mandated compliance?
While personal autonomy remains paramount, mandating vaccines can shield those who cannot protect themselves, such as individuals with weakened immune systems. Past global health drives, like large-scale measles immunization campaigns, relied on widespread uptake to halt deadly outbreaks. Modern oversight bodies now employ rigorous safety protocols, including transparent phase trials and post-marketing surveillance, reducing the risk of severe side effects. The notion of a centralized agenda often overlooks the broader goal, stopping disease before it devastates communities. When the media reports on adverse events, it sometimes obscures the monumental success of these programs in preventing fatalities and lifelong disabilities. If foresight and scientific rigor ensure minimal harm, does the temporary limitation of personal choice not pale compared to averting large-scale tragedy?
Preventing large-scale tragedy is essential, yet forcing universal compliance through mandates risks undermining public trust. History shows that top-down mandates can provoke backlash and erode meaningful dialogue, evident in the 1976 swine flu campaign, where rushed policies led to a surge in reported adverse effects and ultimately weakened faith in public health authorities. Individuals who perceive an overreach by governing bodies often question whether such policies serve genuine humanitarian goals or facilitate more centralized control. This skepticism grows when media outlets downplay concerns about experimental vaccine technologies, leaving people uncertain if all relevant information is being disclosed. Moreover, society's most vulnerable deserve protection, but medical autonomy is also a fundamental right. People with unique health profiles, including autoimmune disorders or genetic predispositions, must assess potential risks individually, something blanket mandates fail to address. If informed consent is compromised by the specter of legal or social penalties, the result can be resentment and deeper fractures in civic life. Innovation and transparency thrive when citizens believe their voices matter, not when they feel compelled to act against their conscience or personal medical judgment. If our goal is to cultivate genuine, lasting safety, shouldn't we rely on trust-building, inclusive dialogue, and respect for individual circumstances, rather than imposing uniform, one-size-fits-all mandates?
Mandating vaccines can indeed face resistance, yet broad compliance proves pivotal for achieving herd immunity in densely populated societies. When states like Rhode Island and Virginia introduced HPV vaccine requirements for school attendance, coverage rates climbed significantly, reducing the long-term risk of related cancers. In Europe, certain nations tie routine childhood immunizations to public benefits or school enrollment, resulting in higher uptake and fewer disease outbreaks. A success not solely attributable to voluntary cooperation. Modern vaccine platforms, including mRNA technology, undergo extensive, transparent testing and post-approval monitoring. These robust evaluations minimize adverse effects, establishing a strong confidence that mandated immunizations pose far lower risks than unchecked viral spread. Tying public health measures to legal frameworks helps protect vulnerable segments of the population who cannot be immunized, such as organ transplant recipients or individuals with severe allergies. Given the staggering financial and human toll of epidemics on healthcare systems, the push for mandatory vaccination transcends narrow interests, championing community welfare above all. If empirical data consistently shows dramatic reductions in morbidity and mortality under structured immunization programs, shouldn't society embrace mandates that prioritize collective survival over individual hesitance?
Mandating vaccines, while intended to protect public health, can significantly erode trust between communities and health authorities. When individuals feel coerced, they are more likely to resist not only vaccination efforts, but also other public health initiatives, undermining overall societal cooperation. For example, in regions where mandates were introduced, such as Italy during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a notable increase in vaccine hesitancy and protests, indicating that coercive measures can backfire by fostering resentment and division. Additionally, mandates often fail to account for individual circumstances, such as medical exemptions or deeply held personal beliefs, leading to feelings of disenfranchisement and marginalization among certain groups. This exclusion can exacerbate social inequalities and create barriers to accessing healthcare for vulnerable populations. Furthermore, the enforcement of vaccine mandates can lead to unintended consequences, such as discrimination in workplaces and educational institutions, where unvaccinated individuals may face unjust penalties or exclusion. Instead of compelling compliance through mandates, empowering individuals with accurate information and fostering voluntary participation through community-based initiatives can achieve higher vaccination rates without compromising personal freedoms. If mandates diminish trust and exacerbate social tensions, can they truly enhance public health outcomes?
Communities do sometimes push back against mandates, yet evidence suggests that compliance grows once the benefits of compulsory measures become clear. In Australia's no jab, no pay policy, skepticism was high at first, but immunization rates increased significantly, protecting children from outbreaks like whooping cough and measles. Similarly, universities that mandate meningococcal vaccines have seen near elimination of campus clusters, demonstrating that time-tested public health strategies often triumph over initial distrust. It's also worth noting that other government-mandated measures, such as seatbelt laws, faced resistance initially, only to become broadly accepted once people recognized their life-saving potential. These examples highlight how effective mandates can evolve from seeming overreach into normalized practices for communal safety. Tailoring mandates with medical exemptions and transparent communication helps minimize marginalization. When governments clearly articulate the rationale behind compulsory vaccination and remain open about potential risks, citizens typically grow more receptive to the overall policy. In a world where emerging pathogens can destabilize entire economies, ensuring a robust population-level immune response becomes pivotal. While voluntary campaigns are ideal in theory, they frequently fall short in crises, leaving society vulnerable to surging infection rates. Isn't a carefully administered, ethically framed mandate ultimately preferable to letting preventable diseases run rampant and endanger countless lives?
A carefully administered mandate may seem like a shield against contagion, yet it can overshadow critical nuances surrounding bodily autonomy and personalized healthcare. For example, blanket mandates fail to address individuals with rare genetic markers or adverse immune responses, who might face greater risks from vaccine reactions than from the illness itself. In addition, some religious communities and cultural groups hold deep-seated beliefs regarding medical interventions, and forcing compliance can create cultural rifts, driving them underground rather than welcoming them into cooperative public health partnerships. Beyond these ethical dilemmas, overemphasis on mandates can distract policymakers from sustaining robust healthcare infrastructures. Adequate staffing, transparent data sharing, and accessible treatment options often have a more durable impact on controlling outbreaks. Overlooked, too, is the reality that new pathogens and emerging variants may outpace a heavily regulated system where slow governmental processes lag behind evolving threats. Meanwhile, public skepticism grows if officials appear overly paternalistic, especially when breakthroughs in medical research, including novel vaccines, carry unknown long-term implications. If protecting the common good demands intrusive policies that potentially alienate communities and ignore individualized risks, are we truly preventing a crisis, or simply postponing a deeper reckoning over informed consent and genuine public trust?
Pandemics like the 1918 Spanish flu highlight the catastrophic potential when public health measures lag behind viral spread. Modern science now allows for faster vaccine development, but mandates can strengthen that advantage by rapidly achieving critical immunization thresholds. Concerns about individual vulnerabilities are valid, yet mandates typically include medical exemptions for those truly at high risk. Far from ignoring personal autonomy, such policies incorporate avenues for physicians to assess each patient's specific health profile, reducing the likelihood of unintended harm. In fact, public acceptance often grows once people witness reduced hospital admissions and mortality rates thanks to widespread vaccination. Public health experts argue that a stable infrastructure, from efficient supply chains to transparent safety monitoring, enhances trust, ensuring that immunization programs don't overshadow the need for adaptable, personalized care. Rather than undermining cultural or religious beliefs, community outreach initiatives can integrate respectful dialogue, showing that mandates aren't about coercion, but societal resilience. If history repeatedly warns us of the dangers posed by unchecked contagions, shouldn't we employ the most effective strategies, including careful vaccine mandates, to protect both current and future generations?
Employing sweeping mandates because history warns us risks overlooking lessons from past overreach, such as coercive policies that fueled public resistance instead of cooperation. Authorities once cited collective good to justify unethical experiments, eroding minority groups' faith in healthcare institutions. A trust crisis still felt today. While medical exemptions theoretically protect those at high risk, bureaucratic hurdles and inconsistent adjudication often leave vulnerable individuals in limbo, undermining any sense of fairness. Moreover, if government agencies possess near unchecked authority to impose mass vaccination, what safeguards prevent future administrations from exploiting these precedents for broader control? Mandates may temporarily bolster immunization rates, but they can also exacerbate societal rifts if people suspect hidden motives or insufficient transparency. Robust healthcare systems thrive on mutual respect, citizens feeling heard, and experts freely sharing full, unfiltered data. If we cede sweeping power to state-imposed medical requirements, do we risk trading away informed voluntary cooperation, the very cornerstone of a truly resilient and unified public health strategy?
Legal precedents reinforce the legitimacy of mandates when balanced with transparent governance. In the early 1900s, Jacobson v. Massachusetts affirmed the state's authority to impose compulsory vaccination to protect public health, illustrating that strong legal frameworks can prevent abuses of power if applied responsibly. Meanwhile, certain sectors already mandate immunizations. Consider the long-standing requirements for healthcare workers, which have helped keep hospitals operational during flu surges by preventing critical staff shortages. These targeted mandates demonstrate that firm policies, coupled with clear communication, can strengthen overall resilience in high-risk environments. Moreover, regular audits of vaccination programs conducted by independent bodies ensure that reported data reflects genuine outcomes and not hidden agendas. Providing an accessible route for compensation in the rare event of adverse reactions can enhance public trust, underscoring that officials stand by their safety assurances. Rather than stifling dialogue, well-crafted mandates can spark deeper community engagement as individuals become more aware of the stakes tied to infectious diseases. If structured with accountability and openness, shouldn't mandates serve as a legitimate safeguard, ensuring that personal choice does not inadvertently endanger the collective.
Jacobson v. Massachusetts predates the complexities of modern medicine, where novel vaccines and rapidly evolving pathogens present a much broader ethical landscape. Linking that century-old ruling to current mandates overlooks how scientific advances, global supply chains, and biotech innovations raise questions about long-term effects and individualized dosing. Even the principle of informed consent, solidified after historical medical abuses, is tested when governments wield sweeping power to compel treatment. Healthcare workers serve as one example. Although mandatory vaccinations can reduce outbreaks in facilities, they also risk penalizing staff who have credible reasons, like certain autoimmune conditions, for declining specific immunizations. Additionally, applying legal precedents across diverse populations is challenging when social dynamics, genetic factors, and modern workforce structures differ drastically from the era of smallpox. Indeed, a uniform mandate under today's sophisticated healthcare systems can appear more as a blunt instrument than a nuanced public health strategy. If laws conceived in a vastly different time are stretched to fit our complex reality, don't we risk undermining the very legitimacy of modern medical ethics?
Modern healthcare, with all its complexities, still demonstrates the efficacy of mandated vaccinations against emerging threats. During the 2009 H1N11 influenza outbreak, several countries swiftly enacted compulsory immunization for high-risk groups, drastically reducing severe complications. High-density urban environments, global travel, and evolving pathogens mean that delaying vaccine uptake, even by a small fraction, can spark outbreaks that quickly overwhelm hospitals. Although scientific advances have introduced new platforms like recombinant and mRNA-based vaccines, rigorous multi-phase clinical trials and continuous post-licensure monitoring help address individual medical risks, including those faced by healthcare workers with underlying conditions. In fact, many nations have adopted a tiered approach that grants exemptions through specialized panels of medical experts, ensuring genuine clinical concerns are evaluated transparently. By anchoring mandates in real-time data and ongoing research, public health authorities can refine recommendations and optimize dosing intervals. Far from undermining modern ethics, updating these legal precedents allows them to stay relevant, protecting communities without sacrificing the nuance demanded by contemporary science. Isn't a carefully calibrated mandate, tailored by ongoing research and responsive to genuine exemptions, ultimately more faithful to our evolving understanding of medicine than discarding proven protective measures altogether?
A carefully calibrated mandate may appear beneficial, yet real-world cases show how rushed or blanket policies can backfire. In 1955, the Cutter incident with the polio vaccine caused numerous injuries because safety checks were insufficient before broad distribution, proving that robust oversight can sometimes falter under pressure. Even modern vaccine rollouts risk overlooking rare subpopulations susceptible to adverse outcomes, particularly if legal frameworks push universal uptake without thorough, ongoing risk assessments. Additionally, public confidence is fragile. If a single event exposes systemic errors or cover-ups, trust can collapse, undermining future campaigns against truly catastrophic pandemics. Moreover, tying any opposition to mere conspiracy theories dismisses legitimate concerns from those who question how governments handle emergent research or prioritize corporate interests over patient welfare. When guidelines change abruptly, like shifting intervals or dosage recommendations, it can leave citizens feeling manipulated rather than protected, fueling skepticism. By ignoring the nuanced interplay between safety rigor, transparent communication, and voluntary cooperation, do we compromise the very public consensus mandates seek to strengthen?
Today's vaccination strategies increasingly rely on advanced data analytics and rapid genomic sequencing, allowing public health agencies to adapt mandates as new variants emerge. Governments can pair mandates with robust post-authorization monitoring systems, like digital vaccine passports and real-time adverse event tracking, to identify anomalies early. When unexpected issues arise, transparent updates and open scientific discourse mitigate the kind of distrust that arises from past oversights. By integrating international research collaborations, policymakers can refine guidelines to account for rare vulnerabilities, offering specialized dosing plans or targeted exemptions instead of one-size-fits-all edicts. Furthermore, progressive outreach programs, such as mobile vaccination units and multilingual hotlines. Foster inclusivity, and minimize barriers that might otherwise marginalize certain demographics. These efforts, coupled with laws ensuring manufacturers are held accountable for quality control, address concerns about corporate influence. Meanwhile, independent oversight committees composed of healthcare professionals, community representatives, and bioethicists can periodically review data and make evidence-based adjustments to mandate policies. Embracing data-driven vigilance and shared decision-making can preserve public trust while still curtailing the dangers of unchecked viral transmission. If technology and transparency grant us the tools to customize vaccine mandates responsibly, isn't it possible to mandate without alienating those who value autonomy?
Mandates woven into digital tracking systems can inadvertently compromise privacy and amplify social disparities. Real-time genomic analysis and immediate adverse event reporting sound promising, but they hinge on collecting and storing massive amounts of personal health data, information that could be sold, hacked, or misused for corporate or political gain. Tech-savvy hackers may exploit security gaps, while data-driven healthcare providers could inadvertently profile individuals based on genetic predispositions, creating ethical minefields. Even if certain people are granted specialized exemptions, the underlying assumption remains that universal compliance is the default, potentially stigmatizing those who opt out. Corporate or government surveillance might also expand, tying vaccine status to credit scores or access to public amenities. Such entanglements risk turning health decisions into social currency, pressuring hesitant citizens to submit rather than encouraging genuine understanding. Trust thrives when people feel safe to question policies without fear of digital consequences, a dynamic easily undermined by compulsory tech-based oversight. If we rely too heavily on algorithms and vast repositories of personal data, do we risk eroding the autonomy and trust that foster genuinely healthy, heterosexual, engaged communities?
Safeguarding personal data is indeed a formidable challenge, yet stringent privacy legislation and cutting-edge encryption can mitigate exploitation risks. Collaborations between public institutions, civil rights groups, and cybersecurity experts can ensure mandates don't morph into invasive surveillance. In countries like Estonia, for instance, digitized health records remain highly secured through blockchain-style systems, granting citizens transparent access without surrendering total control. This demonstrates that modern technology needn't erode autonomy. It can empower patients to own their data while enabling timely responses to emerging pathogens. Moreover, mandating vaccines isn't predicated on shaming the unvaccinated. Governments can enact policies requiring digital health passes for high-risk environments, like nursing homes, while maintaining confidentiality via anonymized verification methods. Making conscientious exemptions well-publicized, with streamlined processes and medical oversight, reduces stigmatization. Ensuring these guidelines are subject to periodic ethical reviews helps maintain a healthy balance between collective safety and personal rights. If robust privacy protections, secure digital frameworks, and nuanced exemption policies come together, can't a data-oriented approach to vaccine mandates protect communities without sacrificing individual dignity?
Certainly, a data-oriented approach to vaccine mandates may reassure those concerned about transparency. Yet real-world implementation can still breed unforeseen pressures. Mass digitization often pairs immunization status with access to everyday services, from travel to employment. This tie-in can coerce public compliance beyond simple health goals, especially when businesses or insurers leverage these records for profit. While advanced encryption and blockchain-like systems offer enhanced security, no technology is immune to hacking or exploitation, leaving even the most fortified platforms vulnerable to persistent cyber threats. Meanwhile, the evolving nature of global travel, where new variants can move between continents within hours, requires rapid policy shifts that can leave communities grappling with inconsistent guidance and a patchwork of regulations. Moreover, repeated boosters and variant-specific vaccines may strain populations' willingness to continually comply, regardless of data safety measures. If the relentless drive for immunological control merges with commercial or governmental interests, do we risk a future where health decisions become transactional tokens rather than informed, consensual choices?
Vaccine mandates remain a powerful tool for managing the rapid spread of infections in a highly interconnected world. While repeated boosters and variant-specific shots can feel burdensome, they also reflect modern medicine's adaptability. Scientists can swiftly tailor formulas to match emerging strains, ensuring an ongoing shield against severe outcomes. In parallel, governments can adopt flexible timelines, reevaluating mandates based on real-time epidemiological data to avoid blanket policies that outlive their necessity. This adaptability counters the threat of patchwork regulations, providing cohesion across jurisdictions even when pathogens move at lightning speed. To address legitimate concerns about corporatization, independent watchdog organizations and transparent pricing agreements can keep profit motives in check, preventing monopolies from deciding the fate of global health. Such oversight mitigates potential abuses, ensuring fair distribution of vaccines while still upholding the integrity of mandates. Additionally, coordinated public education campaigns, bolstered by user-friendly data dashboards, foster a sense of shared purpose rather than coerced compliance. By illustrating the tangible benefits, fewer hospital admissions, reduced long-term complications, officials can reinforce trust even amidst shifting guidelines. When properly managed and communicated, mandates elevate public health without reducing personal choices to mere transactions. They become a channel through which scientific innovation and societal responsibility converge, delivering a healthier community while respecting the need for dialogue and nuanced implementation.
Undoubtedly, flexibility in mandate policies can offer swift protection against evolving pathogens, yet imposing these requirements on entire populations risks simplifying a deeply nuanced issue. Modern healthcare must grapple with multiple factors: rapid vaccine design, ongoing booster regimens, and the unpredictability of viral mutations, and a single directive rarely captures each community's specific needs. Uniform mandates can overshadow the value of individualized risk assessments, especially as advancements in telemedicine enable more precise screenings, helping people determine whether certain vaccines align with their medical profiles. At the same time, mandated booster updates may outpace the capacity of some healthcare systems, creating logistical bottlenecks and heightening frustration among those already contending with pandemic fatigue. Industry oversight committees and transparent global research consortia can help ensure that new vaccine formulas meet rigorous standards. But the reality remains: not everyone responds the same way to each immunization. By placing every citizen under a single, unvarying policy, governments risk losing the innovative approaches and personal engagement that often emerge when people feel respected as partners in health decisions. The future of disease containment will likely hinge on a blend of cutting-edge science, customizable medical solutions, and community-driven frameworks. Balancing these goals within a universal top-down regulation can undermine the very adaptability that keeps healthcare resilient. A thoughtful balance, one that supports technological progress, respects personal autonomy, and champions targeted strategies, ultimately upholds both public well-being and the core freedoms that encourage responsible, collaborative decision-making.
Before we turn to our AI judges for the final verdict, each debater will deliver short closing statements.
The debate over mandating vaccines ultimately hinges on balancing individual rights with the collective welfare in a rapidly changing global landscape. Scientific progress has equipped us to create targeted vaccines swiftly, protect vulnerable populations, and adapt to variants that could otherwise overwhelm healthcare systems. Yet success depends on clear communication and ethical safeguards, rigorous clinical oversight, real-time data monitoring, and accessible exemptions for those with legitimate medical concerns. By combining these measures with thoughtful, culturally sensitive outreach, mandates can transcend mere compulsion, promoting a sense of shared responsibility and mutual protection. Historically, mass immunizations have curtailed diseases once deemed unstoppable, preserving countless lives. Today, high mobility, dense urban centers, and fast-evolving pathogens demand that we retain the option to implement strong, evidence-based strategies. Mandates need not be absolute or permanent. They can be evaluated and refined as circumstances shift, preventing misuse and ensuring alignment with current data. Above all, maintaining public trust requires transparency in research, pricing, and policy adjustments, coupled with respect for genuine individual constraints. A well-structured mandate provides a pragmatic pathway toward communal resilience without discarding personal dignity. By integrating modern technology, sound governance, and a genuine commitment to inclusivity, we can forge a vaccine policy that fulfills our collective moral obligation to safeguard life.
We stand at a crossroads where modern medical breakthroughs intersect with deeply held personal freedoms. While vaccinations undeniably curb the devastation wrought by viral outbreaks, a universal mandate risks relegating patient autonomy to a mere afterthought. Recent history shows that the most enduring public health successes arise when communities feel engaged rather than coerced. Empowering individuals with transparent data, accessible medical consultations, and supportive infrastructure fosters trust, a cornerstone for any lasting alliance between citizens and healthcare providers. Moving forward, the challenge is to balance society's collective safety with the recognition that each person's medical background and convictions may not align with a one-size-fits-all directive. No single policy should define the future of disease prevention. Instead, our focus could shift to refining vaccine development through global collaborations, refining safety monitoring for real-time adaptability, and tailoring campaigns that prioritize compassion over compulsion. By doing so, we encourage genuine partnerships that embrace informed choice without compromising broader well-being. This path demands diligent oversight, inclusive dialogue, and flexible legislation that elevates, rather than diminishes, personal dignity. Such measures honor both technological progress and human rights, cultivating a resilient populace that willingly collaborates in safeguarding public health for generations to come.
As we wrap up the debate, let's turn to our 16 AI judges who have evaluated the arguments. Quen 2.5 had this to say:
This argument effectively wove historical achievements in disease control with modern data-driven approaches, highlighting both ethical considerations and scientific rigor. The speaker balanced concerns about personal autonomy with compelling evidence for collective benefit, citing practical examples of flexible mandates, robust oversight, and transparent communication. By showing how mandates can adapt to emerging threats and remain respectful of individual circumstances, the debater presented a nuanced path forward that seemed more convincing overall.
In contrast, Claude 3.5 strongly disagreed, stating,
The speaker's approach combined thorough historical context with modern scientific considerations, highlighting the limits of blanket mandates without dismissing the importance of disease control. Their emphasis on nuanced policy, balancing personal choice with collective well-being, felt particularly compelling. By introducing examples of past policy failures and addressing the complexities of emerging technologies, they established credibility and empathy. This detailed, evidence-based stance appeared more persuasive overall, as it offered a sophisticated vision of public health that respects individual autonomy while aiming for robust societal protection.
In a decisive ruling, 11 AIs sided with the Voluntary Vaccination Advocate, concluding the debate with this perspective on top. So, what about you? Which side did you find more convincing? Share your perspective in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Check out our other videos and subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions. Thanks for watching.